All right. Hey, everybody. This is Garrett here from Reach Creator, joined by my partner Steve Brownlee. He's burning the midnight oil over in England. We got Vin from over at Word Agents, and today, for our very first episode, we are joined by the lovely Tiffany DaSilva from Flowjo. Say hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, hey.
So we're super excited. Like I said, this is our very first episode. If you tuned in last week, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. That were my fault, so you can blame me. Um, Today we're going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff, some industry news. Tiffany's going to be going into a little bit of depth about Flowjo and how that can help your business. Kind of exclude yourself from the desk a little bit to say. And we're just going to have fun. Everything's off the cuff. Just a few internet marketing experts sharing their opinions on stuff, so take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, nothing we say is
Obviously, we're all right about
truth.
everything, is what Garrett meant to say.
Anyways, Tiffany, you want to share a little bit about yourself and Flowjo?
Sure. I'm Tiffany DaSilva. I've been in digital marketing for about 12 years now, but I actually started SEO when I was 9 years old, so it's kind of in my blood. I started affiliate marketing at 11. So nerdiest kid ever. And I've been working in startups for like my whole career. And I started realizing that one of the biggest things that kept happening in the startup world was that you would task someone with, okay, we need to grow the website. Let's brainstorm and come up with new ideas. And a whole team of people would turn around and just start like typing away and looking for like top 25 growth hacking tips and then start like reading them down. And like, it would drive me crazy because they would like be reading and saying, well, this idea got like 1 million views, and it'd be just the most ludicrous idea that wouldn't work in our situation. And I thought it was just a startup thing until I went to the digital marketing agency side, where I was director of strategy. And we started going through the same thing when it came to SEO and PPC. People would immediately, even though they knew the foundational things, would start typing away trying to find the next new PPC thing. So I decided that there are still fundamental and foundational things that you need to do in marketing, in growth hacking, PPC, SEO. And I wanted just to create a box that can sit on your desk, that away, so you wouldn't touch the computer at all, and you could just go through some of those ideas. There it is. I even have one. I realized I didn't even have one out. But those, they have 100 different ideas, all broken up by the different stages of your business. So whether you're in brainstorming stage, or you're looking to acquire, convert, retain, have your customers advocate for you, or you're just looking to cash in, there's 20 different ideas each, and the box is actually divided into things to do, doing, done. So you can pretty much just focus all your time there. And I put this on Product Hunt probably 2 months ago, and sold out half of the inventory in like a day.
Wow.
And places like Staples Canada and some startups here in Toronto, the more I started talking to them, they started using this on a weekly basis and kind of taking those out and trying to figure out different ideas so they can kind of plan out for the next couple of weeks. So it's been really exciting to see it grow and seeing people like it as much as I did when I created it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking for new things to keep me productive during the day, so definitely, anything out the window can catch my attention. So if I get a nice little tool that's keeping me focused and giving me something to do when I have nothing else to do, I think it's something that'll be valuable.
Yeah, I think the thing that really struck me checking it out was, I think the appeal in our industries, because people are so narrowly focused on something that they've become good at. So few people are classically trained. There was the whole argument on Inbound where people were arguing about whether a marketing degree was even worthwhile or not. And because people have become, I'm an SEO expert, I'm a pay-per-click expert, then they get a job that's bigger than that, and someone says to them, right, we need a plan for this product launch, and they've never done it before. And they're like, oh, well, we'll do some SEO because I know that bit. But then Oh, yeah. How do we get people to? And the box kind of takes them through a lot of stuff. I was flicking through hundreds of the cards, and it's like it's all stuff that someone, I mean, not all of it, but a good deal of it stuff that someone who's done a marketing degree might have seen dozens of examples of, and they've done case studies of big companies. But someone who's just come up through the tracks, as an SEO, as a pay-per-click person, as a Facebook advertiser, and they're experts in just that one piece of the puzzle, it's going to add so much more depth because they're missing all of that knowledge. They've never done any of it before.
Mm-hmm. And even like I teach at McMaster University here in Hamilton, and I teach SEO and PPC. And one of the biggest things is I find people get so overwhelmed when they're learning it for the first time that they're kind of missing out on the tactics. And it's funny because when I get feedback, even though I give them like actionable things and things to do, they're always like, well, I thought it was like more focused on theory than anything else. And you're just like, well, you need to know the foundation before you start getting tactical. It has to happen. But again, like some of the students have been using Flowjo afterwards, and actually U of T has started giving out Flowjo as like a gift after when they're done. And it's so cool just to see people go, okay, now that I understand the theory behind this, now I can use these tactics to kind of help out. And especially in the different stages of a company, because people learn about marketing and learning about like the different customer, like the customer journey. But as soon as I get into a company, and I've seen this a lot, especially in agencies, they get so overwhelmed so quickly that they forget all those, like the journey. And they're just like, okay, let me just, again, do this SEO campaign or PPC with generic terms and just walk away and work on something else. So this allows you to go deep.
I think a lot of people get confused with the term growth hacking. Like, how would you, in your own words, define growth hacking as something separate from digital marketing or SEO or PPC?
Well, it's so funny. I get asked this a lot. And I mean, the official way of looking at growth hacking is kind of when you're starting out in your business and you're looking for that product market fit, and you need to come up with like the strategy quickly to figure out, okay, how do I test to find out who my target customer is, how my product works. But the thing is, when people come to me and they're looking for growth hacking, because I am a growth marketing consultant, people are just looking for marketing with urgency. They're either they just got funded, or they're already, it's like halfway through the year and they haven't hit any of their goals even close, and their boss is freaking out at them, and they're just looking for marketing with urgency. And what I tend to do then is you just focus on, like, you can't do everything at once. So you start focusing on certain areas and you just go super deep for like 2 or 3 months, and then you can switch. And as the results are coming in, or as your experiments are kind of looking, you can then, like, let's say I go deep on SEO and I create 25 new content pages and links and start getting links sent them. I'll put that away. 3 months, for the next 3 months, I'll work super deep into PPC, creating landing pages, create some tests, and then I can go back and see how that SEO went, because I can let it go. But when you look at the 6 months, you've created a really deep SEO campaign, a really deep PPC campaign. But people instead, when they start doing marketing, they just do like 1 day of this, and then 3 days later, they're like, I'm going to switch from SEO to PPC, even though they're a marketing generalist. And then you look back and they're overwhelmed and they don't know what to do. So when the boss tells them, like, we need to do something now, they're like, let's rebrand. Let's start. Let's just build a new site. And like, people always come to me right when they're about to do that. And I'm like, don't touch anything. Like, let's just see what's going on. Let's audit and make sure that this site is working.
Yeah. I think that's kind of stuff that I do naturally, especially as just like a smaller web service provider. It's, as having a very small group of talent around you or help around you to get things done, you're not really able to do all the marketing mix tasks that you really need to do. So that, that's really how I kind of approach it. Kind of go headstrong towards one project for a few months and kind of live off the what we produce off those efforts for a few months, and then move to something different. But I think that if there was a guide, chronological guide for what I should be doing, that would keep a lot more organized. Yeah. I'm secretly checking out the website while we're talking now. It looks real cool.
Well, we have a discount code in a minute, so don't order until you get the code.
Yeah. Yes. The other thing too is instead of in going deep in SEO or PPC, the good thing about Flowjo is for people who don't necessarily have a specialty or know how to do those things, all they have to really focus on is the problem that they're having. So if they're having a problem acquiring new leads, they can just focus in that section for 2 months and start doing the little tactics and start building on it. And the idea is, like, you can spend 6 months in one area using those cards and you're still probably have a ton of stuff left to do afterwards. So it's neat. They're like little mini campaigns that you can do.
Yeah, I mean, what I said to Tiffany when I first kind of got the product was it's like something that can replace probably the first $1,000 you spend with a consultant, because all they're going to do is go through all the things they know. And I was looking through the cards thinking, oh, yeah, I know that one. I would suggest that one. And I was thinking, well, this is just replacing that first $1,000 when I get to charge someone to tell them what they need to do in a long list of things that we need to talk about over the next few months. It really is a complete kind of starting list of areas you might seriously want to look at if you're trying to grow something. Like, are we having trouble with email? How are we going to use email? How are we going to get more referrals? How are we going to, any question you have, there's those little pieces in there, and it kind of replaces, you've got to pay someone to tell you what you've even got to think about. You could look through the box, and then when you get stuck on something, bring in someone to just help with the part you're stuck on, rather than having to bring someone in right at the beginning when you don't even know what you're supposed to do or what your problem is yet, which I think was quite a big benefit or selling point, I guess, of the box, is that it cuts out that whole huge, we don't even know what we need to do. We need someone to come in here for 4 hours and tell us what we even need to talk about before we get started. It's like, you'd know once you'd gone through, oh yeah, we've got someone who can do that, we can do that one, we can do that one, don't know what that one's all about, we need some more help there, or we need to do some more research or whatever. And you could quite quickly get to where your business is strong, where you're going to need to do some more investment and research, and it cuts to that really quickly because they're quite snappy and to the point. And I'll read a couple out later when we talk about the product more. This is we're just in the intros at the minute we've talked about.
Well, one of the things too that I think is really important about the cards is in the think section. Like, one of the biggest questions I get when people call me because they want to do growth hacking is, like, they're like, oh, you know how Airbnb was started? Like, they found a way of hacking Craigslist to grow their base. We want one of those ideas. Can you come up with one of those ideas? I'm like, if you want one of those ideas, like, bring in a bunch of university students into a room, buy them free pizza, and they're going to come up with something so out of the box that you can sit back and go, okay, let's try that. But it's really hard to come up with those ideas. So in the think section, it's just different ways that you can brainstorm new ideas so that you can come up with maybe that next big growth hack. And a lot of the questions or a lot of the strategies of brainstorming has to do with equality. So making sure that the quietest person in the room, who is probably a great observer, probably has amazing ideas, they probably don't get to speak their mind, because the loudest person in the room is just shouting out like 35 different things that you should try and kind of making that person silent. So one of the big things I try to do is take everyone writes down their ideas and they put them in a box, and then those ideas get announced by whoever's leading the team. And then they get to vote which ones they like, which ones they don't. And that way you kind of have a meeting of people that are, just everyone's equal. And what I found when I started doing this is I always knew that the quiet people in the room had these like amazing ideas, or you'll have people that are just too shy. And they'll come up to you after and they'll be like, well, what about this idea? And I'm like, why didn't you say that? Like that we could have, the whole meeting could have been about that. So I just wanted to find ways to flesh out some of the ideas of everyone in your team.
Cool. All right, that was a pretty detailed introduction. I guess since we lost the chance to introduce Vin, if you want a couple minutes, you might as well give everybody your whole spiel.
Sure. I don't know if I need a couple of minutes, but my name is Vin DaSilva. I'm the owner and operator of WordAgents.com, and we're a content creation agency. So we create, we're basically ghostwriting for any small business or a digital marketing agency that needs to outsource their blog role or any kind of written text that basically they don't want to do in-house. So we have a team of 75 American writers, and we're creating about 400 articles a week right now for our clients. And we pretty much can handle just about any topic under the sun. So most SEOs really don't want to write ever. So they come to Word Agents, and they outsource the work to us. And we've been around since, I'd say, 2013, and we've just been growing ever since. So there's a huge demand for it, and we're just looking to keep on growing.
Cool.
I already want it. I'm like,
Yeah, we try to describe ourselves as the in-house content writing team, just not in-house. For a lot of our bigger clients, we create custom teams that we just hire and manage for them. But we also have the general public-facing team for those one-off orders or smaller orders.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, I guess that leaves you, Steve. I'll let you speak with us if you'd like.
Yeah, buddy.
Okay. I'm Steve Brownlee, run Reach Creator with Garrett. We do outsourced PR and outreach for other agencies and businesses, so link building, content promotion, and obviously influencer marketing, which is what we're going to be doing for Flowjo. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. We're really excited about the Flowjo project. I think it's going to be really cool. I think people, when they get their hands on the box, are going to really love it. So I think we're going to get some great influencer marketing out of that. We're going to come up with some ideas for how people can review it on YouTube in a fun way, though, because I don't know. We've got to kind of direct them what they're supposed to do with it when they get it. I don't want them to just kind of get each card out and read a few at random and go, yeah, this is pretty cool. Next. We're going to come up, Tiffany, with some good ideas for what we can tell the YouTube creatives can do if any of them want to do it, because I think video is so powerful, but I wanted them to have something fun to do with it or something, so we'll have to come up with some ideas for that. But I think people are going to love it, so I'm looking forward to doing that project. And much like Vin, we just take problems away from agencies. Most agencies, once they get past 10, 15 clients, they're becoming a link building and a writing business, and then they start coming on to people like Vin and people like us to take parts of the problem away, because all of their value add is the hours and hours spent for the clients consulting, explaining stuff, helping them actually strategize online. They don't want to become the best outreach team in the world. They don't want to hire 50 writers and train them all up to, top standards and stuff like that. Their core business is consulting, so we take all the pain away and we deal with the consulting stuff.
You can't specialize in everything, so you might as well rely on the people that know what they're doing. And it's a little bit of a leap of faith, but once you get a process down, it works out real well.
For sure. All right, moving on into our next segment here, past the introductions, we were going to talk about just some industry news, just general digital marketing. Last week we kind of had briefly touched on the whole, Rand Fishing got outed. We won't go in that as depth as we did last week, but, we kind of covered it. It was shocking to some, not so shocking to others that Rand finally kind of got forced out, but it's going to be interesting to see obviously what happens over at Moz and if they can kind of get things turned around or what their plan is. I think Steve had heard some rumors, if you want to elaborate on that shortly.
Well, I credit this rumor to Twitter, so know it was tweeted by some quite famous people though. So famous SEOs, according to famous Twitter SEOs. We might link to the tweet in the comments. We might not. I'll have to check who it was before I decide whether he would think that was funny or not. But yeah, HubSpot apparently may be interested in buying Moz. Whether that's true or not, it would make sense to me. I mean, I think Moz need a customer base that's growing. At the moment, they're competing with Ahrefs, and in the SEO world, in the hardcore SEO world, they're dead. Their tool just isn't as good as Ahrefs, so they need a strategic alliance, I think, and it would make huge sense. In terms of Rand finally being asked to be less involved or whatever happened in that lovely press release written by Sarah, I think she's shown herself to be quite hard and on the ball with what needs to be done to turn it around. The end of all that kind of community nonsense where people with Moz titles were insulting people, and then to kind of move into a kind of new era where Rand wasn't kind of stepping on her toes with the decisions. When you get a new leader, you have to have them take the lead, and I think she's shown that she's probably got what it takes if they can make a few good decisions to survive. But I mean, they're certainly growing. They just don't make very much money yet.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
there'll
did he
be.
ever shave his mustache? Like,
Oh god.
Yeah, the big curls and stuff.
yeah. Was
He
going
trimmed it though because they finally made a profit. I think like the
Oh,
first
is that what his
thousand
plan was with
the
it?
first $1,000 they got into profit. He trimmed that down a little bit.
Oh.
So I think he
Hilarious.
hoped. I think he hoped secretly it would come really soon after he donned that look, and then a year later he was getting more and more curls.
I saw him at one of the Distill conferences in New York. It was just one of those one-day deals, and his hair was about a foot off the top of his head.
Right,
And
yeah.
if you want
Just
to
like a-
call attention to yourself, that's one way to do it.
He's like
Someone-
Benjamin Button, but just with his fashion sense. Like every year he becomes younger in his fashion whilst getting older.
Someone should tweet him and ask him how many cans of hairspray he goes through every week. Well,
Or-
oh,
We've got some commentary going in the chat now. Got a
Oh, do we?
circle in the house. Yeah.
Is it pro or anti Rand's mustache? Oh, yeah.
I think it's
Monster
mostly
says
about
he's the
about
honest
Rand's.
SEO ever. With Vin in a close second.
I don't know about that.
No, Vin's got a good mustache going now.
No. Still working on the puberty beard.
Edmund in the chat has a pretty good point. You know, they did give Rand quite a bit of time to try to figure this out, but eventually the investors need to see a return on something. They can't just keep dumping money in and finding new people are going to be like, well, you haven't made money in 5 years. What's even the point of this? You know, they need some sort of new leadership.
Yeah, no, and she must have made sense. I mean, she'd been on the board. She was the 14th employee there.
Yeah.
She'd already led lots of important projects there. You can kind of gamble on an outsider, or there's a safe pair of hands inside. And I think they probably made the right call because, I don't know, like you see what happens when tech companies bring in some random CEO from some random Fortune 500, and
I've been there.
it's pretty interesting, isn't it, when that happens? So we're going to check your LinkedIn now to see what company it was. You've just revealed the.
Don't look. Don't look.
Anyways, moving on some typical Rand abuse.
No,
something kind of.
love him, really.
Yeah, you know.
Just wouldn't pick him as a CEO.
You know, something I've kind of seen in the last few weeks is in some of these Facebook groups I'm part of. So once in a while, someone will start a thread asking about, you know, how Google hires manual reviewers to basically make sure the algorithm's doing its job the way that Google thinks it should be working. And a lot of these people make this mistake that they think a manual penalty or a manual review on their site is in direct correlation with the people that are like the quality control guys for the algorithm. And Barry actually put up an article today, Barry over at the round table, about the people that are monitoring the algorithm. It's just their job to say, you know, like if someone types in buy a pool table, they want to make sure that like the search result is relevant, right? They don't want to see something like how to repair your pool table. It's relevant, but it's not like the intent of that search. And I've seen a couple of people go off on tangents about how, why would you ever want to do this why would you want to work for Google, and you know, you're manually reviewing your allies in the trenches and all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting little point that Barry brought up this week, that just because you're, you know, quality assurance on the algorithm, you're not the guy out there that's manual actions on websites and all that stuff. So I just thought that.
No, I mean they have a proper team for that after all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Although I've seen someone showed me a manual review where they'd put actual pieces of press coverage by a columnist at a proper newspaper as one of the links they found suspicious on a manual review.
Really?
So I'm sure they have only the best people throughout Google, but I guess at a company of that size, you're going to get the odd funny story
Remember
makes
a
its
couple
way
of years
out.
ago, I applied, and when you apply, you get their entire workbook. It's like 1,000 pages long, and you're supposed to read the whole thing, and then you take like a 2-hour test, and they give you examples. You know, if this query was returned with this result, are these results accurate, or why or why not? And I failed horribly. I got like 30% or something, and I don't know. Like I guess I'm not as good as I think I am. But.
Have you guys heard of anybody actually getting tagged with a manual review anytime recently? I feel like with
not recently. Garrett and I got one of our sites penalized on purpose to see what would happen. We bought like it was a finance site. I mean, we're going back a long time now. I mean, this is before we even ran this business. We were just a couple of freelancers that worked together back then, and we had this finance site in the mortgage space over here, and we just bought everything. You know, we bought Sherlock Does This, you know, on Wicked Fire, like any old
Lady
package.
Gaga.
Yeah,
Lady Gaga has her own link package if you guys are interested.
yeah, like anything that was under $50 on Warrior Forum, Wicked Fire, anywhere, we just bought it and slammed that in.
Who did we call it last week? It was CEO Sam from Wicked Fire.
SEO Sam, yeah.
SEO Sam.
Man, he's still around. I get an email from him probably every day. He has a new link package out.
He does some sick graphics though. I mean, the graphics he puts in the threads to promote his stuff are just different world. I mean, you think you're buying
you order 50 links for $50, and he spends like $1,000 on these. I don't know how he does it, but more power to him.
So, and all the content was written for $1 in India, literally $1 a page. And we're talking like long pages, Vin. I'm not like, you know, it was $1.
Yeah.
100. I mean, we're, you know, 2,000 word pages for $1. And it was all just gibberish, of course. But on this site, and we thought, oh yeah, this is going to get a penalty immedially. It was Penguin. It was 2.5 years and Penguin 3 before it got penalized. Up till then, it was making $1,500 a month every month, and we spent $500 on spam.
Oh my
God. That's the only manual penalty I've actually seen, like for myself or a client. Like none of my clients have been cursed with having one, but I guess it would be hard because they're not buying like Sherlock Does Google and things like that. You know, it's some random plumber or something. He's not been on the Wicked Fire forum just yet trying to.
Yeah, the only penalty I've ever gotten was back in 2013 when Penguin 2 came out, and my site got tagged with some spammy link penalties, but that was like the automated algo penalty, not the manual. And me and Jared are actually bringing that back now, and it's coming back quite nicely. But I've never really seen a manual review.
Yeah, that site that we did that too. We got slapped, and then okay, this is why you shouldn't do this, because then it took me like 3 or 4 days of doing a disavow file and emailing about like 1,000 links to get them taken down, and then another disavow file, and they took off the penalty, and it's kind of like the site's back to where it was, but obviously it's dropped because we haven't done any work on it in like 2 years. But I think we might try to revamp that one of these days. But
it kind of seems that even after a manual penalty, so I've heard, is that you might get the penalty removed, but you're still never getting the page one, or it's going to be.
Well, where you were wasn't where you deserved to be. Where you were was where you were because you'd spammed the hell out of Google. Like you go back to where you would have been if you hadn't cheated in the first place. So it's like a kind of hard reset, and then you're building a new site from scratch. So it's like, you know, is this joke project worth treating as a real project now, or?
Yeah, right. You might as well just start a new domain all fresh and start from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, we did do some legit stuff on it after Garrett got it removed from penalty. Like, it's in the mortgage space, so I actually went to a mortgage conference and like live reported from it, and some of those got a lot of sales short term. So I think there's a lot of potential in it if we wanted to take it a bit more seriously. But I guess that answers the question for people, like, if you get out of the manual penalty, will the site perform afterwards? Yeah, if you do really good stuff and get straight, you know, learn your lesson and don't do any more nonsense, then
yeah, I've had clients come to me to start doing the disavows and everything, and once again, like you said, once you get it all removed and they start ranking, then you can see, okay, where are we really at, and then grow from there.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, alrighty, moving on. The main topic this week is we're going to be discussing influencer marketing, and ourselves at Reach Creator, we're going to be doing a big package. We already have been RDR, but we have Tiffany working with us, and we're going to be promoting Flowjo. Steve and Tiffany are kind of the point men and women on this one, if you guys want to take it from there.
Cool.
Yeah, so we've done it a lot in the past, this kind of influencer stuff. And I think what we know as link builders is that there's 3 types of influencer. And as link builders, we know it in the terms of an influencer just being a website. But there's three types. There's sites that are really big, they know they're big, and if you want coverage on them, they know they can charge you an absolute ton of cash to get on there. And the sites at the other end will take any post. They've got a big guest posts accepted link at the top. And that's where our competitors get most of their links from. They just search for everyone who says, I take guest posts, submit them, and then, you know, the site has no traffic. But they get a nice link on there, no problems. And in the middle, these people that really care about their audiences and do have decent sites, and you can get really good coverage from those people, but they don't know really what they're worth. They're just really passionate about the topic. So if you pitch them with a really good PR pitch, some good content that they actually want, you can get amazing coverage from that middle ground of sites without paying the huge fortunes to move up to that end, or without going all the way down into the pit of despair where they've got to, please give me a guest post link on their site. So we realized quite quickly that webmaster is just the same as any other person. There's not like some magic type of person that runs their blog about knitting or whatever. They're the same as a YouTuber who does knitting, or Instagram person who goes around taking pictures of weird knitting patterns they've seen and stuff. And, you know, any niche is the same. You know, the people are just people that have chosen to use a blog instead of Instagram or instead of YouTube to share their medium. And on all of the platforms, they're the same. So on YouTube, we found at one end they're part of a network that handles all of their placements. You want to get a product on their channel, you pay the network $10,000. They keep $4,000. They give the channel $6,000, and they handle all the payments and the placement. At the other end, there's people that just have no one really watches their channel, and in the middle, there's actually really good channels where they're really passionate. They're not part of a network. They haven't really thought about monetization. They might not even be getting any money from Google. They might not even have bothered monetizing properly through available, but they're just really passionate about the topic. And if you give them something they're really passionate about and they want to talk about it, so somebody wants to talk about growth hacking, might love to just talk about Flowjo because it's a unique product that they haven't. But if you go to someone who has 4 million views every video, like you want Gary Vaynerchuk to review Flowjo, you're going to have to really hit it off with him because he doesn't take money for his placements, and get on the show some way through your connection with him. But you can get 4 million views by getting 10 people that have 400,000 views a video that are just really passionate, and it's the same people you're connecting with. You're connecting with an audience of 4 million, but you're not having to just hit those big channels, or for the sake of it, just hit the bottom channels. And just the same as our competitors in the link building space tend to focus on the weaker end, what we see with is big New York agencies deal with just all the big stuff. They're like, oh, you got $1 million budget. We'll give this YouTube talent agency 100,000. We'll give this YouTube talent agency 200,000. We'll pay for ads in this channel. There you go. The millions is spent, and you've got X amount of coverage. And at the other end, there's these what they call like influencer networks, influencer SaaSes, all this kind of thing, where really desperate people who have a really rubbish site, YouTube channel, whatever, they put their name on so that people send them free stuff to review so their 47 readers can see it. And that's exact same competitive landscape that we're really dominating in the SEO and link building space exists in the influencer space. One end's too expensive, one end's too rubbish. We're going to target those passionate middle ground people. And it's the same. We're great at PR pitches, we're great at outreach, and we're great at identifying that market. So I think we're going to carve a similar space out. And we've been doing it in some of the less fun industries because that's just where our clients were back when we started doing the influencer testing. It was all like, and I think I said to Tiffany, it was all, like supplements and like energy drinks and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's great. I mean, that's great if we get another supplement company because we can show them the numbers and the case study, but it's absolutely rubbish if we're talking to a corporate. Yeah, we're really good at getting 27-hour boost reviewed. You know, it's like, well, yeah, but we make like fine crystalware. How are you going to get the coverage I need? You know what I mean? So that's what we're hoping to demonstrate with Flowjo. It's a totally different product. It's something that's serious. It's B2B. It's for business owners. It's for professionals. And it's going to be but it's going to be the same as what we do for our link building clients. So how do you feel about getting stuck into this project, Tiffany?
Oh man, I am so excited. When I saw him ask anyone if they'd be interested in an influencer project, I'm sitting there like watching it go through, and no one was really saying anything, and I'm like, I'll do it. Please help me. Yeah. So, and especially I have seen, like, I'll have one person who has a good network of people just talk about it or send out a link. Like I have one girl, Nicole, she actually is in the testimonial, and she did so much. Once she realized she really liked the product, she did so much to help it grow. And I swear, like so many of so many purchases came from her because she was a community manager for Product Hunt, and she was for inbound.org too. So she just went out to her networks and just said, you have to try this product. It's amazing. And I got to see how much power that had. So it's going to be exciting to see, to not only see those things, but also find the niches. Because there were certain Facebook groups that I just posted that day that it was on Product Hunt saying, hey guys, check out this product. And all these people bought like within a couple minutes of it. And I was like, okay, like that was awesome. And then I started trying to find like every Facebook group, and then I couldn't find any more. But it was neat to see how like popular it was. And even when I speak here in Toronto, lately I keep having people come up to me and say like, oh, like I've heard of Flowjo, like isn't that the box thing? And I'm like, I can't believe, like it seems like crazy that they could have seen it on Product Hunt that day, but it's really exciting.
So you've already seen some of the power of the influencer stuff, just through some ad hoc stuff in your network.
You know, me and Steve have talked about this before, and I don't know if this would fall under the influencer marketing umbrella, but kind of what we like to do is we go out and find those online communities and really just lend our knowledge to the community. And, you know, with no, you know, we're not trying to sell anything right away. We're just going there and try to be a valuable addition to the community. And, you know, within a week or so, you really kind of latch on to a few members. You'll kind of be able to pick out who the pro is and who, you know, the leader is and who's just there to learn something new. And, you know, no matter who it is, you know, there is an opportunity there down the line. So when I go in and I'm, you know, looking for new business, I'll go to a Facebook group or a message board or Reddit or, you know, Online Geniuses or what have you. And I'll just try to provide as much value as I can. I'll you know, kind of, you know, spill out my knowledge, you know, give as many actionable tips to whoever needs it. And I find that, you know, the more I actively do that, the more the new business rolls in, because they start to identify you as the influencer. And then you build up that trust. And once you have that, it's real hard not to make money.
Yeah.
That's how my whole consulting business started. Like I spent the last 10 years just helping people randomly, like when people needed, they just got out of school and they just needed someone to talk to and do all those things. And I was just doing it without really thinking. There's I don't know if you guys have it, 10,000 Coffees, where people can see if you're an expert in certain things and they can meet you for a coffee. And it's just a free kind of site. And I used to do that all the time. Like at least a couple times a week. And now it's so funny, like literally the day that I decided to open up a shop and I kind of announced it, all those people who I had helped kind of throughout the years, they're like, okay, I'm a marketing director now. Like, we need you. Like, I don't, like, you're the one that helped me in the beginning. Like, I need you now. So it was so nice to kind of, like, you weren't thinking that when you were giving the advice that it would come back to you. You didn't know how it would.
Yeah, you gotta take your lumps at first, and you're gonna go on a lot of those coffee meetings, a lot of them probably, before you get any return from it. But you know, it just takes a little comment from this guy and that guy, and they talk about you to the right person, and all of a sudden you have a huge account on your lap. And really, that's what it's all about.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a little piece, actually, a case study on a guy I know, Marco, who we'll put a link in the comments description once we put it live at the end of the webinar. But he started out on LinkedIn. He's in cybersecurity, which is super dry, and he's trying to build a huge audience on LinkedIn. And his competitors are all just posting, oh, Facebook hacked again. This, not Facebook, maybe, I don't know, maybe they never get hacked, but such and such hacked again. This bank in trouble. And he thought, well, how am I going to get people to actually be interested in this? And he wrote poems about cybersecurity. So he turned the news or gossip or whatever was going on into a poem, and he did like a year of poetry. He actually put it in an Amazon Kindle book and sold it as well. And everything. And now his stuff just gets thousands of shares and likes, hundreds of thousands of views. But now he's posting more thought leadership pieces, and because he's already built because you see him in your feed and you're like, oh, he's the poetry guy, and you check out what he's. So I've met him a couple of times for a coffee just to chat about startups and businesses and stuff. And it was very much a planned thing. He was like, I can't get an audience just posting about danger. I'm going to do poems, and people seem to like him. So I just kept going until I had a big audience. And then now he's getting business. His business partner that he's just raised some money with, he found him through his poetry originally.
That's the best sentence ever. Found him through poetry.
cyber poetry, he called it.
Oh my God. I would have never guessed that would have gained any traction whatsoever. But
I think you have to be a unique character, and he's certainly got a lot of personality and character about him. It's I don't think I could write poems that people would want to read. How about you, Ben? Are you going to get some? You're the writing guy. You're going to get some poems.
I've had some crazy requests for articles, and you know what? It was kind of like in the spirituality space, where like it was more about emotions and feel of the piece rather than the tangible business part of it. But no poetry requests yet. I'm sure that's.
I'm gonna order a couple of poems now. Just for
I was gonna say. I want to see what you guys.
I want to see what you guys.
Outsource it.
I could be like, I need 47 SEO poems to cover my next 47 LinkedIn updates.
Yeah, watch our huge viewer base is gonna start dumping in orders to word agents too. 1,000-word poems.
I'll just write negative reviews for you because that's not going to work out.
I know, yeah. Just on the Word Agents page, you could have like a thing saying, if you want poetry, here's what our last 10 customers said. These guys suck at poetry. Please don't send me any more poetry orders. Vin, Word Agent CEO.
Yeah, please. Do not.
Oh, boy.
That's funny, guys.
I am going to order 2 poems, though.
I'll write them just for you.
No.
But you can't complain about how they turn out.
No, I know you did them. I have to pretend. Oh, it's really deep. I like the way you...
We got requests for some adult topics, too, which I don't even know how to respond to, because obviously I don't want to tell a potential new client that, that turns us off. We don't want to touch that kind of work, but at the same time, that's not something we want to touch at all. But
nice way of saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, but no thanks.
You only have one choice then. You have to say no. If you don't want to do it.
I'm getting better at saying no in a nice way because, we only have limited capacity and we got to take on the clients that we know will do a good job for.
It's an interesting discussion, though. I mean, my view on it is if it's legal in the jurisdiction and in your own jurisdiction where your staff are based, obviously, then I generally would take the business because I have lots of moral objections to all kinds of things. Like I think about, maybe some percentage of our clients, I wouldn't agree with their business necessarily or start it. But I think, as long as it's legal and your team can do a good job, I tend to take it. And for example, when we had the Viagra client, obviously I said to him, send me your license that proves you're actually allowed to do this. But, they were a licensed pharmacy and they were allowed to sell it. So
a good example is the cannabis industry now, because now we're on the borderline legality. And, like 3 years ago, I would turn down anything marijuana related just because we always say no gambling, no adults, no drugs. But now cannabis kind of made the leap into the legal territory, so we're getting into a lot of, I guess you would say, topics related around the industry, like how to grow or how to fertilize your soil or stuff like that. And that kind of topic I'm okay with because it's legitimate. We're not doing anything that would end up hurting somebody or promote something that's illegal.
Right.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of those too. Here in Canada, it's going to be legal in 2018. So a lot of startups are starting to ramp up here and get ready for it. So it's been interesting, and it's something that you kind of want to jump in right in the beginning and see like, where is this going to go?
Yeah.
I don't know. All I'll say is it has a downside. Like, because we were so successful with that Viagra campaign, I still get introduced by some of my introducers when I go to conferences and events. Oh, this is Steve. He's the Viagra guy. I'm like, so you'll go places and people will be like, oh yeah, she was Canada's first cannabis girl.
Yeah. The poster
It sticks. That's all I'm saying. Good or bad, it sticks forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, where are we at here?
I was just going to make a comment. It's going to be interesting with the whole marijuana industry. My brother-in-law, my girlfriend's brother, whatever, he's a major grower in Washington State, and he was kind of telling me that, obviously there's a lot of smaller growers. There's just a handful of big companies that are coming in and just buying them all out, giving a lot of cash up front, and it sounds like it's going to be a really controlled market, not just in federal regulation or laws, but just huge companies looking to monopolize and forcing the smaller guys out, which that's kind of interesting how, you can see like a corporate structure to it, and just marketing that versus working with like a small growing operation or something is kind of interesting to me anyways.
Yeah, here they're trying to decide. We have like a liquor store, like that's federal. They're trying to decide if it's going to be there in the LCBO or if it's going to be in like our pharmacy. And they're trying to like figure out where you would buy it and if it's going to be like something there or in a grocery store. How are they going to? So it's neat to hear the news while they're trying to. Yeah.
So we have the dispensaries, and right now they're like the shadiest things in the world. They're like,
really?
These weird strip malls in the bad parts of town. But I think eventually they'll, just become their own kind of shop like anything else.
We have 20 within 3 blocks away from my house. Yeah. They went and shut down them last summer, and it was like, I think 45 different outlets that they had to shut down. It was like, and it was very far away from each other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, Garrett, I read that Monsanto was trying to kind of dig their hands into the seed market.
Really?
Kind of like they do with everything else. So
I don't want to say anything about that company because any of my opinions about them will get me sued by them. So I'm gonna sit this one out.
Someone like Monsanto, to me, that's pretty interesting because when you look at not just like the marijuana market, but the growers and everything, to me it's kind of like I don't want to use the word hippie, but it's kind of like grow your own organic dope and everything's growing on the land, and it kind of seems weird to me that anyone would want to work with Monsanto, who there's kind of always that clash between like genetically modified seeds and whatnot. But
haven't you read the stuff about the stuff in Colorado? It's like 60 times stronger, the stuff they can grow in a warehouse, than the stuff you can grow in your garden.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the appeal to people that enjoy that kind of thing.
Yeah, until people have like one joint and they can't get off the bathroom floor for 3 days.
Well, I've heard stories, man, like because people don't understand that when you get those edibles, you're supposed to like kind of piece it out, like you don't eat the whole package. So you get like these kids giving it to their parents, and the parents eat the whole bag of like gummy bears or something, and then they're legitimately like comatose for like 6 hours. And they're like, that's not for me.
I feel like we should say here that we're definitely not endorsing getting your parents so big that they can't get up off the floor.
No.
Treat your parents with respect. Make sure you educate them about the dangers. They don't understand it like
not
you do, kids.
advocate parental abuse.
Oh shit! Yeah, that'd be no good. Yeah. Our luck, we'd get like 100 calls that yeah, my kid watched your show, and all of a sudden, here I am.
Like, what the hell is your kid watching a show about Flowjo growth marketing for?
Yeah, Flowjo and weed are now synonymous.
Oh, we have just synced those brands up. Like,
Niche market.
apparently, this is now officially Canada's first official marijuana product for legalization.
It sounds like it could be too.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
man.
You know, if somebody did come in mid conversation, they would have no idea what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
To bring it back on topic,
Yeah.
they did have that scene on Mad Men where the creatives had a little puff, and it got things flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to get it back on advertising, there we go.
Yeah. There we go.
Mad Men.
If you haven't watched
Safe
Mad
it.
Men, you should probably watch it. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
One of my
It's
favorite shows.
Probably my favorite series.
Yeah.
I think you could start an advertising or any kind of marketing agency and be successful just from listening to everything Bert Cooper says throughout the show.
Probably.
Like
But they did such a good job at making everything realistic. Not that I was alive in the 1960s,
Right.
but you know, they did a real good job at not sensationalizing.
I worked for a bank in the 2000s, which is the exact same environment, so I can 100% vouch that was exactly what working in the office was like every day.
Sure.
Man.
Oh, God. I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. When your boss is asleep on his desk because he's had too much to drink every day by 2 p.m.
Amazing.
I just
Sell
never,
the banks to make money.
I never understood that lifestyle. I was like, you go to work to work. You don't go to work to get trashed, to come home and be hungover by the time you're home.
Right.
That's just me.
People didn't really go home. It was kind of like they'd have their afternoon nap and then we'd be out for dinner with clients. So they'd just, pick back up the pace where they left off until 2 a.m. and then, same day, 11 o'clock, start again.
Well, we got some people in the chat, guys, telling us how they love the edibles. So
Oh, okay.
we started a good conversation here.
Amazing.
They'll hate me then. That's a substance that doesn't agree with me at all in any of the forms that you can try it in. So unfortunately, I have to stick to my cognac.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, guys.
wrapping
I'm a
everything
boring
up
old man
here,
now or something.
I see the Hobster has wrote a very nice poem about Vin. Vin, would you like to read it?
Roses are red, violets are green. I bring the flowers to Vincent, my queen. Thank you, Jared. That's my buddy and developer, Jared, who always treats me so well.
See, we're starting.
I was going to
something.
say,
We're
I
starting a
thought we'd
movement.
get some abuse from the randoms, not that your own buddy would get in the chat. And,
I get it the worst for my friends. Don't worry about it, man.
We're good then. We're good.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So, anyways, I believe Tiffany has a discount code she'd like to offer for the outstanding amount of viewers we have this evening.
Yes, I'm giving away 15% off, and the discount code is Reach Creator. So
Cool.
go on flowjo.co now.
Yeah.
And look. I mean, there's a serious number of cards in here. Like each one of these is. Can I get it on the camera? There we go. All of those cards. Each one of those is an actual idea that you'll spend. Like you could spend an hour discussing most of them. To be honest, in a meeting, you could have a meeting around pretty much every card.
Hey,
If you can't come up with some good ideas at the end of that, then it's not Flojo's fault. It's just you're having rubbish meetings or something like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we're all in agreement on that here. So sorry, guys, no refunds.
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, it's your own fault. You should have had better meetings with the cards.
I had someone that actually came back to me and they're like, this isn't what I expected. And I was like, what did you expect? They're like, well, I was hoping it'd be in PDF form. And I was like, but it's a box. Like, actual
What?
box.
This is something that you hold in your hands.
But they're like, well, like the ebooks, like when you see an ebook and it looks like a real book. I thought it was something like that. I was like, no.
that could be a cool upgrade for you down the line where you do a digital version that kind of like pops up randomly on the screen or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about it at first, but the whole concept of the company in general, because there's going to be SEO and CRO cards coming soon, and even Flowjo is about work and play, so a work-life balance. So there's actually question cards coming out, like that you play with your friends. Like it's debatable, so debatable topics and slightly. There's awkward questions, slightly awkward questions, and random questions that you can ask. The awkward questions are so bad I wouldn't even play them myself. I gave them to people to try out, and if they made like a face going like I can't do that, I'm like perfect. That's the question we want.
So that's like an icebreaker type of deal.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's our podcast. As soon as that box comes out, like we're just gonna go through the Flowjo awkward questions box and see how we do.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that's gonna save us like 3 months of brainstorming because we're just gonna be all three of us looking like.
Oh no, I don't want to know.
We're gonna get you back for that episode.
Yeah.
Because we'll have more viewers then too, and we'll have done the marketing campaign, so we can talk about how the campaign went, and we can make you answer your own awkward questions. It's like a top.
No.
Oh my god.
And they're not even just about like there's obviously like the sexual questions, but then there's like financial questions and politics, like the stuff you don't want to talk about with your friends. And it's so funny to watch people
Get a little rough.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I just ordered my box, so
Nice.
I'll be looking through those next week.
You heard it here, folks. Say it.
If you're in the chat box, if you're ordering now, Jared, if you could just confirm you've placed your order as well, please. Get my own back on him for ribbing on Vin.
Oh, yeah. Man. Well, you guys good to leave that there? Anything else you want to cover quick or? No?
I don't even know what we were talking about just now, to be honest.
Well, it was Flowjo and how Flowjo is now
is.
the lead marijuana recommendation.
We were talking about influencer marketing,
Yeah.
and then we went into drugs.
I think I'll leave that off the
Okay.
outreach we do. I think that accolade will just kind of keep on the lowdown for now until we.
Yeah.
I think people
Thank you very
they might
much.
be slightly confused when they receive a box of growth marketing tips if we describe it as
And
Canada's
not
leading
seeds.
Canada's leading marijuana startup
Yeah.
is actually a growth hacking box. So that might get some interesting reviews when they
Bait
received it.
switch.
Oh, all right then. The next segment we had scheduled was I didn't see a whole lot of stuff floating around in the industry this week. I don't know if I just didn't look hard enough, but have you guys seen anything that's kind of caught your eye in the digital marketing world? Or
Don't put me on
Yeah.
the spot like that, man. That's your job.
I know, I guess I didn't get around to it. Sorry.
Google killed their instant search this week.
Oh, that's
So
right. I forgot.
all
about
their predictive search is gone. Their explanation is to be better optimized for mobile.
that. Okay.
I don't know if I ever even liked predictive search. It was kind of annoying to me, but looking at it from a marketing perspective, I think there's a lot of tools out there that are going to have to update their code
Yeah.
to catch up with this. What do you guys think?
I really
I think
liked
it's
it because, like, if I'm working on one of our servers or something and something goes wrong and I'm Googling it and I don't really know how to put my problem into words, suggestive search will come up with what I'm looking for because I have some dumb query like server doesn't work, and then it'll be like, okay, this is actually someone already typed it in or whatever, and bingo. I think it's good for stuff like that, but sometimes it's also annoying.
Yeah, you'll still get the drop down that gives you that kind of completes what you're typing.
Oh,
But the predictive search is like when the actual the search engine result page would update in real time as you were typing, and
okay.
obviously you can't do that on mobile, so it looks like it's gone for good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of pointless anyway. I mean, people kind of finish what they're typing, and
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with
It did really
Garrett.
annoy me.
I like when it gave you the end of the sentence. So if that's staying, that's good, I guess. But actually, I don't think anyone looked at it. Just flickering noise on
I
your
don't
screen
think it
while you were.
makes
Exactly.
sense to what you do. Like it doesn't even speak to you wouldn't stop and be like, oh, there it is. You wouldn't stop midway. It's not how your brain works.
Well, when it got the search right and it predicted what you were actually looking for, I guess it did save you like that half a second, of typing, but other than
While
that,
we're talking about this, though, actually, I did see something. I'm glad we've got onto this one now because I showed it to Garrett. There was a it was called Marketing Inc. and it was Viper Chill and some guy Diggy or something, and they did this start your own SEO campaign thing, and they did it kind of as a parody of internet marketing, but it was really just an internet marketing course. So he's like, oh, hi, I'm Diggy. This isn't really my Maserati. I've just hired it for today to make myself look amazing. And this isn't my house behind me. I mean, I'm really rich, honest, but this isn't my house. I've just rented it. So they were kind of famous for a while. But if you type into Google Diggy SEO training, another chat called Diggity is what Google thinks you're looking for, and it doesn't show the Diggy training SEO.
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about. That's two different people, Diggy and Diggity.
Yeah, they're different people. And the Diggity guy
Diggity
now is the one that Google thinks you want. So if you type in Diggy SEO training, the original Marketing Inc. is buried now. You get Diggity's SEO training site. Amazing. And yes, these are not their real names. They made these names up just in case anyone's wondering at home.
Yeah, I found both of them on Facebook. They have their fake profiles where they go by their trade names, and I won't say their name. I tried adding them as a friend, but they denied me.
Diggity is more of like a black hat PBN guy, and he's really good at what he does. But
so Diggy, they're like some kind of
I thought Diggy Dirk was supposed to be some white hat guy.
No,
they're not. Am I thinking of someone else?
Him and Viper Chill do a lot of kind of black hat type blogging and stuff.
Yeah, I think Diggy does do a good job. And I don't use any PBN stuff, but I think he can attribute it to he's very selective about who he takes on for clients, and he keeps a lot of that trash that can take. I mean, he says his PBN network is huge. He has 5,000 domains. All it takes is 20 dodgy websites that you link out to, and it comes back to your PBN, and boom, done. But I think he's pretty selective and pretty safe about it. So,
well, here's a question I have for you guys that I heard, and I'm kind of testing now. So I found out that Amazon pretty much runs like old SEO, like from 1996, and apparently you can send really crappy spammy links to your product page and it will be considered in Amazon as they just look at how many links you're getting and not where they're actually coming from. And so I am now testing this out to see if I will show up higher in search results with it. But that idea, and even I was talking to some people who do the PBN thing, their profiles are actually just spam. It's just a bunch of keywords. They use all 250 characters. And I was just so surprised that Amazon can still run like it's 1996 again. And I was
LinkedIn did for a while. A friend of mine put 47 jobs on his LinkedIn profile with different SEO, finance industry, SEO. and he showed up number one for all of them because no one else has got everything covered, 47 different. They fixed that on LinkedIn a little bit. It's still pretty bad, but I'm not surprised that other companies have search problems.
Those huge platforms can get away with the spammy links or the junky links or whatever you want to call them, just because of their sheer size and their authority within Google. But another trick is, I think that Amazon specifically has a ranking factor within Amazon that the more reviews you have, the quality of your reviews. Yeah. So if you're able to gain that filter, you'll be able to move up the internal Amazon listings a lot quicker. But I know
verified purchase reviews are the biggest ranking factor on Amazon by miles.
Right.
As long as you have.
It can't be discounted though.
Yeah, you can't.
It has to be full price.
Yeah.
Well, only for the last 3 months. Up till 3 months ago, you were still cheap. Yeah. It was because people were discounting to a penny, $200 products to so they could sell them to their entire Twitter audience to get 800 reviews and then jacking the price up, and they were number one on Amazon. people were doing crazy
The
stuff.
wild,
so
wild west of Amazon.
So yeah, they can't be discounted, but it can still be gamed.
Mhm.
But we'll leave the discussion of how one might game that to a more Black Hat blog podcast.
Yeah.
Or you can follow me on Twitter and DM me, and I'll tell you how you can do that. I've never
Things
done
to
it
do
though,
for
so
tomorrow.
if it all goes wrong, for you and you get banned on Amazon, it's your own fault for listening to some guy. Some guy who does white hat talking about black hat. If you follow my advice and it goes wrong, it's your own bloody fault.
Well, that's a good point.
It can be gamed, obviously, and you can figure out in like 5 minutes yourself how you would game that if you wanted to.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If you're going to try anything new, I think we all advocate testing it first yourself.
Well, actually, I am going to actually tell people how to game it because I can do it through an analogy. So, when a music artist wanted to be number one in the Billboard charts or whatever, they would get a bunch of kids and they'd give them $20 to go and buy their $10 album from a shop, just to get the kid to spend the time going and buy them. And so they would spend a couple of $1 million getting a couple of 100,000 copies or whatever of their album sold. And then they would hit the Billboard chart, they'd get the radio airplay, and then they would make more money than they'd spent. Or they would secure a better record deal. And it's the same with bestseller lists for books. And so figure out how you would do that on a different platform, and that's what it's the same. The old is the new, people.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like giving your product away for free to have somebody review it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Same kind of idea.
Well,
Because
because you're giving it to someone who has a real audience that cares about their audience to review it. Like when you pay someone to just, well, the only metric is did they buy it,
Yeah.
and you just pay people to buy it so that you become a bestseller or you become number 4 on the Billboard charts or whatever. Like that's not the same as giving someone something that they actually have to sit there on YouTube and say, right, I've got this box. They have to take it out. They have to show. They got to do 10 minutes of content about it. If it's rubbish, it's going to be obvious on the content. Whereas if the only metric is, did the kid buy the CD?
Right.
And did you get more? Did you pay more people to buy CDs that week? Then it's pretty easy to game, isn't it?
You just gotta hope that you don't get outed, and that none of those kids calls up at Amazon or whoever.
Oh,
Says,
right.
This guy's doing this.
Yeah.
Well, kids can be replaced in the online world.
Show up at their house and take their box back.
There's ways around it, but
Oh boy. Well, do you guys have any other interesting things to talk about, or?
Well, Vin seems to be the news guy this week. Come on, Vin, get some
I
more
was
news
just
up.
looking at the Search Engine Land website, and I remember a couple of years ago, Steve, we were talking about how bad the redesign was, and they still haven't changed it, apparently. I haven't been on there for a couple of years, but...
Is it still, stuck out sideways?
Yeah, it's like that weird, what do you call it, mosaic of... it's weird. I think it's atrocious, but...
Yeah, it's a bit. So a lot of these search sites. I wrote on my blog ages ago, back when I still had a personal blog, about how coming from the finance industry, how shockingly angry it made me, how terrible our industry media was. Just any old random person writing some nonsense, and then it gets tweeted and shared, and people show it to their clients as if it makes any sense, and it's just so depressing how low the journalistic standards are in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the bigger players have got worse since I wrote that article years ago. So yeah, let's talk about, in the marketing industry generally, the media. What do we think?
In SEO, specifically, I think Barry is the only one Barry Schwartz at the round table is the only decent reporter about anything. I can't stand more than half the stuff on Search Engine Land. It's all garbage that someone was just using for a plug to promote themselves. And
yeah, I don't really read any of those. I guess you would call them trade publications for SEO.
Yeah.
If I read anything, it's more of somebody describing a tactic or a strategy,
yeah.
and then I try to kind of figure out how that'll work for my endeavors. But as far as just general search engine news, that's who's got time for that?
Yeah. Well, what I like about Barry, especially when we were doing client-side SEO still a few years ago, like he actually goes around all the big forums every day, and if there's any chatter, he'll try to like objectively kind of like consolidate it and come up with like just a 2-sentence summary of what's going on today, and he'll have a few links to his sources and be like, yeah, there's some chatter about a new update or something, or like stuff that you don't have to. I don't know. I think he does a better job at it, but I think I agree with
Yeah,
you
I
in
do like
general.
what he does because he just kind of gives you the lowdown of what the
Yeah.
chatter is and saves you kind of. Because I think he does about 20 different forums he goes through looking
Probably.
for. Like he does the black hat side, he does the white hat side. If there's conversations going on, he brings it to the surface, which, especially for us now when we're doing mostly services for other agencies, we don't need to be able to talk quite as freshly about exactly what Penguin 3 was and what was involved. We just need to know generally what's going on in the industry and where people are having problems and stuff, and he's kind of a nice time saver, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
what do you
that-
think, Tiffany? Because you were saying you're teaching people about SEO and stuff. What do you recommend people read and stuff?
I'm still giving them the Moz like SEO basics that they have to read for homework, just because it's the best one out there that I've seen. And I'm trying to think of what else. I've actually been putting in a lot of podcasts of just so they can listen to it, because I don't think it's necessarily like I've written out kind of all the different things without them having to read. They're not allowed to do too much homework. There's like kind of a no homework rule policy.
Okay.
So, a lot of it is just listen to this podcast and get used to what people are saying. Because I think even for me, like I did SEO when I started when I was 9, and I didn't know it was a thing until I was 22. So I was just gaming search engines without any knowledge of the vocabulary. And from the time I was 22 to 25, people thought I was a moron because I couldn't say, like, I didn't use the term ranking, or I didn't use, like, I didn't know what the right words were. And I think that ends up being the biggest problem, because if a student comes out and they don't know the right words, or they're not used to hearing how things are being said, then they won't speak up in conversation, and then they won't learn more, and so they'll kind of get stunted a little bit. So just listening to people talk about marketing, something like this, and getting used to how people speak about it, I think is important. But
I think I agree 100% on the Moz. I think they've done a really good job of covering the basics and introducing people to the industry that don't have any knowledge of it before. We still send Moz to, if we have a client or someone who's like, oh, I don't even understand why a link's important. Moz has got the patience in their content team to actually really go back to absolute basics and say, well, look, this is how Google started. This is the direction they've gone in. This is the last, the data from the last 17 or whatever, 12 years or how long they've been doing it, of the search impact reports we've done. Here are some experiments we've done. It really just, they have the absolute patience to go through, whereas most bloggers will tend to be right, yeah, links are good, let's talk about this now.
Mm-hmm.
And
or
Moz
the whiteboard.
just got that real patience for beginners, and it's a really good environment for beginners, I think.
Yeah, whiteboard.
Obviously, it falls off quickly when you start getting advanced, but
me and Steve are part of a course too. It's called the Digital Strategy Crash Course, and it's definitely not as organized as something you find on Moz or a paid course, but it's a great all-around overview of marketing from I guess you would say, an SEO perspective. So I'll share the link with you guys there if you want to check it out.
But yeah, I think what I would say with what Builder Society did was not that it's less organized. I would say it's just so broad, because it's to try and take someone from, I have no idea, but I want to build some kind of online asset, so it goes through, how do I come up with an idea? How do I know what a good product is? All the way through to, oh, I built something. And that's so broad by its nature. It's going to have some areas where you could have gone deeper, or, I mean, you could do 50 chapters on outreach. I only got to write one.
Right. But Tiffany, what you were saying before about just kind of being around people that are talking about it and seeing how they express themselves and how they talk about the strategies, that was a big teaching tool for me, just reading forum posts, I guess they call it lurking when you're just reading something, you're not taking part of the conversation. Doing that on message boards and forums and chat rooms, that kind of was like the glue that tied everything together. And I think that you kind of need to learn from several different mediums to get the full picture. So, maybe you take one course, maybe it's on Moz or Builder Society, that'll get you 80% of the way there. And you really kind of have to supplement it with, however many other tools and mediums to really get the full picture. And finally, of course, you got to take action too and actually, put what you learned into practice.
And a lot of people are in companies where they're the only marketer, or they're like, when I first started, I was lucky because I worked for a publishing company that had there was 20 to 40 of us at any given time that were just doing PPC or SEO. So you're around people that you got to learn off of. But then for 8 years, I was the only marketer doing SEO and SEM. So I didn't even talk to anyone about it. And then when I finally landed in an agency, it was so great to meet a bunch of people who, you got to nerd out over this stuff. And no one really cared. Developers would sometimes make me feel good and listen to me for 3 minutes. And then they just go back to whatever they were talking about before.
We were talking about that last week. It's I'm so used to when I'm talking about SEO, people's face just kind of glaze over.
Yeah.
So that's why we're so excited to go to some conferences and meetups, because you can finally be in the same room with somebody as opposed to a digital chat room and have a conversation and actually get that satisfaction out of it, because you know that they know what you're talking about.
I have one friend from college. My degree is in automotive engineering, so pretty far away from anything marketing related. But my friend Elliot, to this day, still believes that Reach Creator and Platus is a Ponzi scheme. He does not believe that anything's marketing. You try to talk to him about it, like Vince said, glazed face. So is this just some internet scheme? What are you actually doing here? Stealing money? And I'm like, no, man. Are you even listening? It's so a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, when some of your clients are the head of SEO at some Fortune 500, it's pretty hard to steal those guys' money without them realizing you're taking the mick. It's this guy's pretty smart and gets paid a lot of money to not give money to idiots. He's happy with the work. We do real work, I promise. I was going to say, that's why Vin was very brave having friends on. At least Jared's a developer, so he knows what we're up to. I couldn't have had any of my friends on. They still don't even know what I do. They think I'm a web designer or something.
My mom actually wants me to write a sentence behind my business card that she can just say, she could show the business card and read.
That's good.
She helps websites show up on Google.
My mother was most happy when I was a professional poker player because people understood that. But I played poker for a year and a half as a living. She actually wrote to the school. The school has a an old blues newsletter which says what everyone's up to. I've never been in there. She actually wrote to them to have my what I'm doing updated to say that I was a professional poker player. She's like, that's much better than that internet stuff.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's going to take quite some time for I guess the mainstream marketing community to catch up to really the type of work that we're doing, but it's good for us.
That's the one big piece of news we should talk about. Was it P&G that scrapped $100 million worth of their ad spend or something online because it wasn't working? Who was that?
I don't know.
Was it
Procter &
P&G?
Gamble?
One of the big companies. Garrett, do some quick searches because you're not on the camera. I can't see you, so you can pretend not to be there. There was one of the big companies. No one else saw that.
It wasn't Burger King, was it?
No. One of the big does everything brands.
It's Procter & Gamble. They slashed $140 million out of their digital spend for brand safety, they say.
What does that even mean?
Well, they also said it was.
They
They also
also
said
want
it wasn't
to cut
working.
$2 billion in marketing overall over 5
Hold on,
years.
let me see if I can find.
So there must be something more to the picture.
Hold on, let me
Oh,
find it.
Ad
See
Age
if,
has a couple of big articles on it. I can post those again.
Okay, yeah, I think it was on Ad Age. Yeah, because they said they stopped doing all of their Facebook and other online advertising for a month, and it had no impact on sales when they stopped.
Well, so do you think that's more they're just doing something wrong? and they can't figure it out, or they're stuck in like traditional advertising, or
I think that's what it is. I think it's hard to do something online smartly with a budget that big,
Yeah.
because what they do is they make an ad like they would have done and then try and make people watch the ad. And that's not going to get you an ROI on Facebook. You need a different piece of creative for every segment of your audience, and
it's so
and
complicated
it needs
to
to
get that
engage.
big.
I mean, I think it's tough.
Yeah, I don't know if
Just-
you guys have been to like, different conferences, like the big digital marketing conferences where they're talking about it's pretty much traditional marketing.
yeah, that
But they'll be talking about branding like this, sitting there going like that isn't what I do at all. Like SEO isn't part of it, PPC isn't part of it. It's just big media buys, and it's like a media buying conference, but under the term that's a lot of what P&G is doing.
yeah, that's weird.
I think you broke up there a little bit there, Tiffany. Did everybody else catch that?
Yeah, I think I lost you guys all for about a second, but I think we're all back.
Are we? Okay.
Yeah, good to go. But oh, now I can't hear Steve.
All right. Yeah, I'm back. Here we go. We're still working out the kinks here, guys.
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah.
You're
no,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying. I think they just make an ad and they try and push it out to as big an audience as possible, because that was the old way. You didn't know who was watching. People
Right.
who watch this show in the day are, probably 60% of them are mothers, so we'll sell mothery products. But you got no idea. I mean,
Yeah,
you look at some shows and you actually see who's watching them in real life, and it's never the audience they expect exactly.
Right.
And sometimes you're watching shows and you're like, why is this ad on this show?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all. This is just wasted money. And if you approach your online marketing like that and you just throw a scattergun 100 million out there and buy everything you can, it's going to be a disaster. And one of the big SEOs tweeted, "I'd love to know which agencies they fired now." But I guess they're not going to tell.
right. Yeah, time,
I was just thinking
time
that.
to do some proposals here.
Yeah, it's like, come on, you can't tease us like that. Tell us who you fired.
Well, they're saying there's another article on Ad Age saying over the next 5 years they're cutting $2 billion in total ad spend. So something must be going on over there. That's quite a big budget just to drop completely. That's like not just an agency thing to me.
That makes me wonder like how crappy the reporting is too. Like
Right.
you go into some of those big companies and the reporting just doesn't even make sense. They're not learning anything from it. So
Right.
I just wonder if they're just stuck in lost in data.
Probably.
Hey,
I
got
was
the,
told in a board meeting once that I was a liar because I told them their cart abandonment rate was not 0%, as they firmly believed. I showed them that their Google Analytics wasn't set up correctly. I brought it up on the projector. I'm like, you don't have a tracking pixel on any of the pages in your cart. So your abandonment rate may or may not be 0%, but you have no idea.
Mhm.
And one of them said to me, "You're a liar. I don't want to hear any more of your presentation now." The number says 0% right here on my analytics.
That's crazy.
We got some guys in the
Big
chat
company
room.
analytics for you people.
What's that, Vin?
We got some chatter going on in the chat room about this too. If you want to call
Go
some
on,
attention
bring
to
it
that.
in,
here.
bring it in.
Who's that? I think that's the guys from Circle, where they said those odd advertisements are maybe a free ad because they couldn't sell to fill the space. So that could be it.
Yeah, that makes sense, really.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. So what are we doing here? We got
We're
some.
doing- Product reviews time, is it, Garrett?
What?
Is
We
it
can
what
move on. We're kind of getting down towards the end of the show. Start to
Yeah.
wrap things up.
we'll do the product review section, or what are we on now?
Yeah, so I guess next week and every week we're going to be having our guest of honor. We'll each be donating $20 to the guest choice. So this week Tiffany has decided to go with the Epilepsy Foundation. If you'd like to talk about that for a couple of minutes, whatever.
For sure. epilepsy affects so many people in so many different ways. It was something that, for me, when a couple of years ago, I would have thought, epilepsy meant you can't be near flashing lights, until one day 2 years ago, I woke up in a hospital and I had a life-altering seizure. And yeah, after being too stressed out at work, and it caused me to have epilepsy. And it was probably the best thing that happened to me, because I got to start my own business and start actually. But I almost died. And had no idea about the auras. For a whole weekend before, I was getting auras, and there wasn't enough. I guess I just didn't know enough about it, and learning some of the stories that people face, and even being in the doctor's office. I was lucky; I've only had 3 seizures in 2.5 years. But there are people sitting next to me at the doctor's office that are having them every 30 seconds, and it's just something. I mean, it's so many people have it, and people. There's also this kind of feeling around it that they're kind of you become an other. I get that a lot when people find out, oh, you can't have epilepsy, you're so normal, isn't those people that can't go to concerts, or they can't do this because they'll just seizure out, or what can we do, what if it happens? And people think even treating if you see someone that has a seizure, people still think that you have to shut their mouth or hold their tongue down, and I thought that 2.5 years ago before I got this.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
So yeah, you just learning that you just take stuff away from the person, allow them to have the seizure, and then if it lasts more than 5 minutes, call 911. So it affected me personally 2 years ago, but it's also been something that I've tried as someone with it to promote and talk a little bit more about it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have that link so everybody can see it too, in case they want to donate?
Yeah, I put it in the chat, and
cool.
got the
There we
website up on the stream. So
it's epilepsy.com or epilepsy.ca for Canadians.
Cool.
yeah, if the viewers are able to help out, any amount helps, I'm sure. So I'll be putting $20 in. It's not a huge commitment, but.
Well, if we all do $20, and all the listeners that see this by the end, because it's going to be going out on Facebook, Facebook ads, YouTube ads. So
amazing.
If everyone put $20 in, could be $20,000 or something. So let's go, people.
Influencer marketer at work.
Don't even bother. Don't even bother smashing that like button unless you've. I mean, obviously, smash that like button. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also put the $20.
Or 2.
Whatever works.
Mm.
Moving into kind of the last segment here. Every week we're all going to be reviewing something. It could be anything. It doesn't have to do with marketing. Steve, Vin, Tiffany, anybody want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
I came prepared this week because I was completely unprepared last week. So I'd like to give a shout out to Grammarly, Grammarly.com. Word Agents uses this daily. Grammarly is a proofreading tool, proofreading, spelling, grammar tool that's really, really powerful in their features. We use this at Word Agents for just about every article actually for every article that we send to our clients. And what it is, it's kind of it does all the basic editing for you right at your fingertips. So you have an online dashboard when you log into Grammarly, but there's also apps where you can attach it to Chrome, and it'll edit real time right in your document. Same thing with Microsoft Word. So it's really powerful. Everybody on our team uses it. Our editors use it. We've been using it for about 2 years now. So I would recommend it to anybody that's writing any SEO that's populating their sites with content, because grammar and spelling is an indirect ranking factor. So you want to make sure that your content is readable, has proper spelling, has proper grammar, and I think it's only like $20 a month or something. So you can't really beat it.
Yeah, cool. Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Sure.
I just learned of this product this week, but actually used it a few months ago. It's called Kickoff Labs, and it creates viral contests. So I came across it about a couple months ago, and for the Web Summit conference. And what they were trying to do is get women to refer other women to this conference. And if you referred like 3 people, you would get a discount for the conference and like a crazy deal. And I'm currently working doing advertising for Elevate, which is a big conference here in Toronto that's coming up. And I remember I didn't know what company did it, so I had to like go back to Web Summit, try to like find a cache version and see if I can see where it came from. And so I'm testing it now. I don't know how good it's gonna be, but I'm pretty excited to see this referral thing at work.
Yeah, that should be fun. Nice. All right, Steve, you're next.
Yeah, so I'm going to just give a big shout out to the open source community, particularly the Django project, Python web framework. So I'm sure if you cast your mind back to this time last year, and it's actually an ideally timed podcast. It's exactly 1 year ago that I discovered Django, and we were really struggling with scaling and growing the business. Most of our competitors use off-the-shelf tools, and so were we at the time, to manage our link building, our outreach, our client management, our project planning, our data, everything. And it's a nightmare. None of them work. None of them tie together well. Nothing allows you to scale efficiently. And I've done a bit of coding before. Like when I was a teenager, I was a geek, and I did a bit of C++ and stuff, assembly, and I haven't really coded anything proper since. Like I've written a macro for Excel and a bit of a Python script to do just some really basic stuff to help with SEO, like I need to analyze this data a bit better or whatever. And the Django project, the documentation is out of this world. Like it'll take you from you can barely program in Python to you can build your own full backend frame system for your business. If you just follow the documentation through, when you finish it, you're ready to just start making your. It's secure out the box. It's fast. It's easy to deploy on Heroku, which is like your cheap startup solution. So I guess shout out to Heroku as well. But it was just phenomenal. I mean, the idea that we could build that in-house without hiring a developer for loads of money, just from me doing the Django tutorial and knocking it together is just unbelievable. And I'd never seen an open source project where the documentation even made any sense. So to go to completely the other extreme, that project is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Nice.
Right on.
So if you want to build something, build it in Django.
Yeah, it's
Forget that
working
Ruby
for us.
nonsense anyway. If you look at the graph for Ruby and Rails, it's adoption's
Yeah, it's pretty
going
surprising.
down.
I guess it's been a while, like 7 years ago when I started using Ruby, and I guess it was just a bandwagon thing. A lot of people were migrating to it, and now it's just not there. I mean, people still use it, but the community's not there from what it was, and
Startups aren't choosing to launch with it.
yeah.
I mean, I think the main problem was one of the main Ruby guys. I can't remember his name now. He went off and made Phoenix, which is an Erlang-based thing, and it has a lot of the same kind of mental approach as Ruby people were used to, but it's like 400 times faster or something. And one of the big problems Rails had was a lot of startups that started with Rails ran into scaling problems and had to re-architect the whole system to stay profitable and stay scalable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Django doesn't have that problem, but I think people don't use it for that kind of thing, where it's like every startup tried to use Ruby on Rails for everything. And I think Erlang and Phoenix kind of solves a lot of the problems, but it's a similar enough methodology that if you were going to be a startup now, all the trendy developers love it, and you might need speed in the future, you kind of go down that road instead. I mean, Hacker News has just been dominated with Phoenix lately. Every day there's some new Phoenix related post on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of wild how languages tend to pop up, and then a couple years later they're just totally off the chart. But
It really is. It's Vin
Anyways.
looks really bored. So it's fun.
I'm just going to review the same thing I did last week because I dropped the ball this week. My whole life in building computers, I've always used Intel processors, and I've never even used an AMD graphics card, but I recently built a new computer, and I couldn't help myself but try out the AMD 1600 Ryzen X. I can't remember what I paid for it, like $250 or something, and a comparable Intel processor would be like 800 or 1,000. And it's really insane what they've been able to do with this new line of CPUs for price point and performance. Like, I'm never going to need a faster processor for probably like a decade now, but pretty amazing. I am now a trader to Intel. I still have a NVIDIA graphics card, but that's what I got this week. Pretty cool stuff.
Cool, buddy.
Yeah.
Intel.
Hey, I mean, if Intel wants to send me a processor, I'll go buy a new motherboard, but I'm not spending $1,000 to... I just don't need it. And
I think where Intel has been focusing those on the low power CPUs. Like I've got the Surface Pro 4 here. I bought the mobile version, so not the fan cooled i5 or whatever. And the battery life is phenomenal. Obviously, it's thinner. It doesn't have the fan, and the performance is fantastic. Whereas, I mean, it beats their old i3. I mean, a year later, and they've got their new generation out again now. I think they've realized that there's things like Microsoft Surface. I mean, that's where people are mostly investing in high-end devices, is in the portable space. So they've kind of let things slip in the kind of powerhouse desktop space and the gamer space a little bit. Because I think less money spent there now. I think people are like Xbox fans and PlayStation fans now and stuff, aren't they? PC gaming's not what it used to be, I guess.
yeah. Cool. I guess that's pretty much it. The last thing on the agenda is wrapping up with everybody making a quick prediction for the week. Doesn't matter if it happens. It could be anything. It could be anything. Donald Trump gets impeached. I don't know. Whatever you want to say. Tiffany, you can start.
Oh no, I don't want to start first.
Under the gun.
Oh my God. Well, I hope this doesn't happen, but I'm about to cross the border tomorrow. And I really hope they don't mistaken me for like someone for anything part of the list. I don't even know what the list looks like anymore of who can't come in, but I really won't make it in. So let's really
So everyone, root for Tiffany across the border.
Yeah, like, Canadians are scared to cross the border right now. Like,
wow.
Wow, that's worrying.
I thought we're supposed to have some sort of like agreement. If you're a Canadian, it's pretty much just like a come on in thing. Is that not how it is anymore? Or?
I don't know. He's trying to stop the trade agreement, so we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, hopefully nothing happens.
Fingers crossed, people. Come on.
Yeah. What do you got, Ben?
I'm going to predict that all my buddies that are in this chat room are going to make fun of me as soon as I get off the speed today. And I could almost guarantee that. So there's my prediction.
Don't be too hard on them.
Oh, no. Go for it. Give her.
Give her.
It's stoking the fire.
Oh, man. Steve, how about you?
I don't know. I mean, I'll go for a joke prediction first. I feel like probably Vin's buddies will just take the mick out of me instead, and he's pretty safe now. So he kept pretty quiet and serious and professional there. And there's this weird English guy at like 1 a.m. drinking cognac and vaping on the call. So I feel like I've probably drawn in enough attention to keep you safe, Vin. So we're good. In terms of serious predictions, I think not for this week, but I think over the next few years, I think brands are going to have to focus a lot more on the relevance of the stuff they put on their sites. I had a conversation this week with quite a big brand, and they still have kind of stuff that falls into the, what if accountants were zombies type of link bait and content. And I think not just Google, but I think customers are going to start thinking that kind of stuff's pretty weird as people start taking content a bit more seriously. And I think we're at a tipping point now where that kind of stuff just can't work anymore. I think you need to have real on-brand content continuously. You can't have
long content, like 2,000 word things.
Decent stuff, yeah. Like it has to be long, it has to be decent, it has to be on topic. I think people are going to be a bit more weirded out by, why is this accountant talking
Vin's
about
getting torn
zombies?
apart in the chat.
Yeah.
His choir posture isn't up to par.
Oh, is that why he's suddenly sitting up a bit more?
Yeah. I'm sitting up because my buddy Avi is is giving it to me right now.
Yeah, I think people are just going to have to take stuff more seriously. I think off-brand content just for links or just for Facebook, or because people do it for Facebook too. I'm using the links example just because that's what I face in most of my life, but people do it for Facebook as well. Like, they put up viral nonsense because they're like, oh, I want to be like BuzzFeed, but I'm an accountant. And I think all of that stuff's going to put customers off over the next couple of years, and we're going to see no one who's succeeding doing it within 2 years. That's my prediction. Those I did this crazy stuff on my property blog posts, they're dead now. People won't be publishing those in 2 years' time.
Probably. I can
Well,
see
even
it.
political stuff, like, that's going to have to change. Like, I've been really interested in seeing how people are going to know what's real, and how, like, there's I get this post every day called "What the fuck just happened today." It's like the best newsletter ever. It's my favorite thing. I wait for it every day at 6:00, and it's all the news of the day, American politics news, and it has all the links of all the, like, major news stations, so that you can actually trust the information that you're getting. And I wonder how much more stuff like that we're gonna go back to that kind of newsletter kind of format, because I mean, they have like, he was able to leave his job, and he has like these donation things where he makes so much money from them, because people just want that kind of information. People are seeking it out. So I just wonder
you can't trust just generally what's in your feed now. Like, I mean, because I have like a list of SEO people on my Twitter feed, and now it's like, I mean, I don't care about politics from a work perspective, but it's weird to me that what used to be non-stop SEO tips has become like some kind of weird pro-Trump activist group or something. These were all people that just tweeted like, here's a good way of using alt tags, here's how canonical works, and now it's like this extreme political activism and stuff. I think you can't really trust your feed anymore to give you what you want. Like, you pick SEO people, put them in a list. On Twitter, you expected that you could skim that for the SEO news of the day. Now you're getting Trump or something. And I'm sure there's the equivalent examples. You pick some other group of people, you'd be getting pro-Democrat, or you'd be getting... You can't... The social filtering that you used to rely on just doesn't work anymore, because people have become so split and energized. And like you're saying, having a trustable piece is so valuable. And I think that's where we're going to have to find a way to pay for the media, because the great correspondents of the past, people like John Pilger, who's obviously, I don't know, 70 odd now, who would go and spend 3 months researching some place abroad to put together a real documentary about it. There's no money or desire or no. I mean, Channel 4 tried to bury one of his documentaries because of the angle he took. And I won't say what angle he took, because it's on YouTube's list of words you can't say. But he took an angle that was not politically popular, and Channel 4 tried to bury him. And 8 million people stayed up in the UK out of 50 million at the time to watch his documentary at 1 a.m. when Channel 4 tried to bury him.
Wow.
And that era of the great correspondence, I think, is gone. And we're going to have to find a way to pay for those people to exist again, so that we can get real investigative news, not, oh, I saw some tweets, or like the current news, which is just like, wait till Donald tweets and then we'll report on it for the rest of the day. It's like, well, that's not investigating anything, and it's not covering the news. Yeah. He controls the news agenda by tweeting something stupid, and then everyone talks about it all day. Like, can you not see that that's the puppet master and the puppets? You know, like an investigative journalist would go out and say, right, well, let's look at what's going on with this.
Yeah,
and we have to find a way to pay for that again.
I was watching CNN for like a couple months, then I turned to PBS News, and I was like, oh my God, I'm learning things. Like, so they were just like explaining, like interviewing people and actually having like all this content. And I'm like, whoa, like this is really what's happening. And I think
amazing.
So, yeah. And I think people are like, with everything that's happened politically, I think it's made people respect real journalism more, which means that they're not wanting clickbait anymore. All that stuff is it's starting to feel like it's all the same. And I'm starting to see people taking more time writing these bigger articles, even about marketing or whatever the different topics are. And I think it's because of that. People are getting really sick of, whatever. I hate using the term fake news. It drives me nuts. But like, because of that, clickbait is kind of falling into that as well, and so I'm hopeful to see what's to come.
I think people want it. There just has to be a way for it to be paid for. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not possible in the free, because the free media, I mean, I guess it comes back to how advertising works and how the sites are paid. If it won't get clicks, the journalist didn't make enough money for the paper that day.
Mm-hmm. And even that newsletter, I've already donated 3 times because I cannot have him like go back to a full-time job. Like, I need that 6 o'clock newsletter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what's your prediction, Garrett? It better be as good as ours. We've had a really good discussion about ours. If yours is lame now, it's going to be like it.
Oh no.
I don't know if it's going to be in the next week, but I think relatively soon something's going to happen in the stock market. There's a whole lot of optimism in the markets, and I really don't understand why. Earnings are down in general. I don't know if it's because of Trump's presidency that businesses think that he's going to turn a lot of stuff around for them and cut their taxes even further. I don't know. But I think there is a correction due very soon, and I hope that my acquisitions of gold turn profitable finally. But we'll see. That's my prediction soon. Market correction.
Market correction. There you go, people. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
or every article on Zero Hedge.
I'm not saying go buy gold. It may be for 2 years. It keeps going, and no one knows why, and then you're going to be broke. But whatever. We'll see.
That's what Grant Cardone said to Gary Vaynerchuk. Actually, he was on Gary V's podcast, the Ask Gary V show, and Gary was like saying, "Oh, I've been keeping all my money in cash now for like 9 months because I think the market's going to crash." And Grant said, "Well, how much money have you lost during that time while it's gone up 40%?"
Right. Yeah.
He's like,
"That's what I'm kicking myself."
You can't time the market, boy. You're an advertising guy. What do you know? Yeah. Get your money in the market. And it's so tough. It's so tough to know. I mean, because like Garrett was just saying, it's nonsensical where we are at the minute.
Yeah.
Well,
like earnings are falling.
Figure out the debt in the States, right? If they don't actually make a decision on that, then the next day they know the market's going to crash. So it has a lot to do with that.
Well, they always do. I mean, even when like Congress and the House was politically opposed to Obama, they still managed to find a way to come together, even though they hated each other. So you'd think this time they're probably going to do the same again, even despite. Well, Garrett's not hoping. He's hoping for the.
Yeah, he's hoping for his gold. So he could be Scrooge McDuck jumping in it.
But
I think it does. I think it's a good prediction. I think because I think we've been too long now with insane earnings and companies making no money with massive valuations. And the last time we saw it was in the last tech boom.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it? Oh, let me try and remember now. That was burning more money in every. I thought they were profitable. Oh, I can't remember now. One of the big startups. I swore they were profitable, and then it was like, oh, they're planning on. Oh, Tesla.
Oh, yeah,
they're expecting to burn another $2 billion this quarter or something ridiculous. I was like, what? I thought they were profitable now. Didn't they sell like 50,000 cars, which was all they could make? So they sold all the cars they could make, and they're expecting to increase their burn rate, and they're supposed to be worth more than GM. This stock market makes no sense right now. Because
we're wrapping up in a couple of minutes. What do you guys think, really quick? Let's say we have another tech bust. How does that affect us as digital marketers? I guess for me and Steve, that could take away a lot of our revenue if some of the bigger companies that we have contracts with decide they panic like everyone always does, and they just cut spending and they don't promote themselves, and that hurts them more. But do you guys see that kind of thing?
I think it'll be a trickle down effect no matter what. I mean, I think everybody will take a hit Word agents usually works with small businesses, so we're not going to lose some of those big corporate contracts. But when money's tight all around, it's everybody hurts.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit excited for it because that means Canada will people already are starting, just with everything that's happening in the States and the volatility. We're starting to see a lot more money coming into Toronto and Toronto startups, and people are starting to move. And all the people that moved to San Francisco at some point are coming here and getting valuations. It's scary in a way that we're starting to get those crazy valuations also, where people don't have money, but they're getting people don't have a business plan, but they're getting a ton of money. But I think for us, there's a boom that's about to happen in Toronto because of it. So I'm excited. Sorry, guys.
So you'll be able to take over the Calgary saying. It won't be Calgary where the streets are paved with gold from oil money. It'll be Toronto where the streets are paved with gold from startup money.
Yeah. That's the hope.
That'll be interesting.
So that's actually your prediction this week: Toronto to become more gold-plated than Calgary by.
Yeah, let's say by the end of 2018.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
2018, move from Calgary to Toronto.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be affected massively because we're not. Although we work with big companies, we're not working with startups that are dependent on debt and borrowing. We're working with companies that make. They're either like Vins, small businesses that are making good revenue and have their costs under control, or they're big businesses that are printing hundreds of millions every quarter in profit. And if they see a slight downturn, they've seen them before, and they're the kind of businesses that just keep planning and going ahead. So I'm sure we'd all see less money flopping around on the table generally, but we're not going to. If I was just a pure startup consultant who just worked with people who needed to borrow 100 million just to stay afloat, I'd be very worried because people aren't going to be throwing that kind of money around when the equity markets aren't giving them exits that they want for the next. They know from the last bust, it's 6 years afterwards you start seeing big exits again. You don't really feel like throwing 100 million in if you're rich and that's the market, do you? But I think. I don't know. I mean, the 2008 crash was as bad as it could get, and it didn't. Business continued. People picked themselves up again. 3 years later, it was like people had forgotten about it in a lot of industries. So I think as long as you can take a couple of years of misery, you'll be fine.
That's nice, optimistic way of looking.
Just buy some of this. Buy some of this nice cognac. I can't pronounce it. Baron de Signoronimac or something.
Yeah, just get a couple cases of booze, and you won't even remember the crash.
You won't even remember the crash.
All right. Well, wrapping everything up, I think we had a pretty good show. Thank you again for joining us, and don't forget to use that discount code, guys. Get yourself hooked up with Flowjo.
Yeah, let's have the discount code again, and I'll get the box up.
Oh yeah, I have to. It's Reach Creator, and
Flowjo.
It's for 15% off at flowjo.co.
Yep, I just bought mine and I can verify it works. So go get yours.
Phew. The site
Awesome.
works.
So I know we don't have a lot of viewers tonight, but don't forget to like us and subscribe or whatever they do on YouTube, and we'll be back at the same time next Thursday.
So we're gonna have
guys.
Bye.
social.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you later.